I would like to hand over this digital podium to Mr. Gauransh Kumar. Give it up for him.
Thank you, Satyam. Thanks a lot for such a great introduction. So I hope everyone here excited as excited I am to get started with Linux. Just give me a minute to share my screen. I will not do a lot of theory part, but yeah, something is important. So just a second. Yeah, so I hope it's visible to you all.
Anji.
Yeah, please respond if anyone.
Yes, the screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible. Yes, it's visible.
Oh, that's great. So welcome everyone. As Satyam told, I'm Gauransh and this is CSI MAIT Present Developers 101, the Linux way. So whenever we start to learn anything, the very first thing that comes in our mind is what is the thing. So obviously the first question arises in everyone's mind is what is Linux, right? So before me answering the question, is there anyone who want to give a try what actually is Linux? Like if you want to share your views. And let's make this into a session in practice so that you can learn more, right? Anyone want to try what is Linux? I'm audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, so yeah, do we have any response yet? I believe. Okay, I don't know, like please try to be much more interactive so that you can learn more. Even I can get to know some new things from you guys. So yeah. So many people think that Linux is an operating system, but in reality, Linux is not an operating system, rather a kernel. So, okay, I said it is a kernel, but you must be wondering then what is a kernel, right? Kernel is not a complete operating system rather than just a part of it. So like it is the most essential part of any operating system. This kernel is actually the software that interacts with the real hardware and has full access to every component of computers that we have. Whereas when we talk about operating system, it is much more than that. Like an operating system would have a GUI, the graphical user interface, may or may not have, but generally we have, right? We have various other programs that completely, defines an operating system. Well, to give you a quick example, imagine that you are in a restaurant, okay, and a waiter comes to you, takes your order, then the waiter gives that order to the chef, and whenever the food is cooked, he gives you the dish, right? Now let's correlate with it here. So the chef is actually our hardware because that is the thing that is actually processing our request. The waiter, we are the users who are sending the request. The waiter is acting as a kernel. It is taking order from our side to the chef and then giving us the output. We never go to chef never comes to us to take the orders, right? So you might be wondering, okay, we got what is kernel, waiter is kernel here, we are the users, and the chef is the hardware. Then what is the operating system? The complete restaurant is an operating system. Okay, like we have different sections there. There must be a cashier, there must be I would say a sweeper to clean the things. So that how a operating system has a lot of components, but the most essential one is of course a kernel, which actually interacts with the user and the hardware. So with that, I hope you get an idea of what a kernel is, and please make sure, because many people think that Linux is an operating system, but in reality, Linux is not an operating system, rather a kernel. So I hope that's it. So without let's go a little deeper into the history of Linux. This is the guy who actually created Linux. His name is Linus Torvalds, and he is a Finnish American computer scientist. He is actually the lead maintainer of Linux as well right now. And Linux is started as his hobby project in 1991 alongside his job, and he created it because he couldn't afford Unix. So if you can't afford any software, please try to create your own. Maybe you get success. Who knows, right? So prior to this, let me just switch back to here. I have told you that kernel and operating system are different, but you must be wondering that okay, Linux is a kernel, but what are we talking about? Because we are talking about Linux, so how can you access it? So for that, we need to come to this slide. This shows, okay. what actually happens is the distribution in Linux world, the Linux-based operating system is called a distribution, or in short, we call it as distros. Um, uh, you can understand it as a hierarchy. So there's a grandfather, which is Linux kernel. It has three sons: Debian, Red Hat Linux, and Arch Linux. Okay. And then these three sons have their further children, and like Ubuntu is a children of Debian, CentOS or Fedora is a children of Red Hat, and we have so much like that. So distro is nothing but a fancy word of Linux-based operating system, or to be more precise, an operating system that uses Linux as its kernel. Okay, so that is the history of thousands of distros that we have right now. And the main Linux right now has three major streamlines. The very first is Debian, the second is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and the third is Arch Linux. Now I have motivatively, created these color schemes because Debian is the most easiest, especially for beginners, because it is an operating system which is, it's like a cooked food. You just have to eat it. Much like Windows, like you just have to install and everything is there for you. Red Hat is something in between. Like it's already a lot of things has been done, but you can do a lot more on that. Whereas Arch Linux is something much more sort for a power user. I'll elaborate what all these operating systems are. So Debian is basically a free and open source operating system that has complete programs and utilities. It is already done. That really doesn't mean that it's less powerful. This Debian itself is used by almost 50% of the servers on the web, right? Debian and RHL both. So Debian has package manager, and don't worry about these fancy words. I believe that you might be wondering what are these fancy words, package manager and things like that. I'll elaborate all of these in the further slides. But for now, sake, think it of as a way to install packages. Like you install executables or programs in Windows. Similarly, in here, Linux, we use package managers to install our packages. So for Debian, we have dpkg at its core, and apt is the wrapper package manager over dpkg. And some of the most popular distributions about Debian, which is based on Debian, is Ubuntu, Kali Linux. And I hope you have heard of Ubuntu. So yeah, that was all about Debian. Now coming to the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Red Hat is a commercial Linux distribution, and here one thing I want to mention is generally people think that anything which is open source is free, but that's not true. All right, RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, is completely open source, but it is not free. It is highly costly because it is meant for commercial users in the servers, right? So Red Hat is open source but not free, and it uses package managers, Yum at its backend, and RPM acts as a wrapper, package manager, just like dpkg or LPP. And it has distributions of Fedora and CentOS. And a fun point here is the Linux kernel developer, like Linus Torvalds, uses Fedora as his main operating system. Okay. Now comes Arch Linux. Arch Linux actually follows the principle of KISS. It is keep it super simple. What I mean by that is basically you just have a kernel and a very basic set of utilities that actually completes an operating system. For example, a package manager and some very basic utilities to make us operating system run. In Arch Linux, you don't get any UI. It is a completely CLI based operating system. But yes, this gives us freedom to choose what to install in our system. It is not like Windows. It is not like even Ubuntu has some bloatwares, but it is not that risky. But Windows has a lot of bloatwares. So in Arch Linux, we have everything to choose what to install, but yeah, it is a little difficult. So I prefer for all the beginners to start with Ubuntu or Debian or Kali, anything that is related to Debian, because it's pretty much easy to understand the workflow. And as soon as you are familiar with Debian, you can easily switch to Arch Linux to learn a lot more about it. So this is a little brief history of distributions, and after this, let's see why we should use Linux. You might have heard of many people saying that use Linux, but why you should use it, right? Because why would someone leave the comfort zone of Windows or Mac OS, anything like whichever you use? So there are a lot of points which is totally kind of personal views, but these are some points which should be considered. It is highly rock solid, stable, and reliable, which means it is very less to create mess of system. It's not like a Windows update which comes and deletes all your data. That's not going to happen because it is highly tested before actually it's being released. Second thing, it is designed to be resistant to virus. Resistant to virus really doesn't mean that it is Mm, but it cannot be attacked with the viruses, but yeah, it is pretty much secured and you don't need an antivirus for sure. And it is open sourced, completely open sourced. And one thing I will mention, many people think of that, like when we have complete source code open in front of the hackers, they can easily check the code and see the vulnerabilities and actually attack the system. But then, why Linux is so secure? The simple answer to this could be you can imagine that if say 100 people are there who are seeing your open source code to attack your system, like finding the vulnerabilities to attack your system, then we have thousand or more people who are actually there to stop that vulnerability as before it gets attacked. It's a simple thing because there are more people who are actually making it more secure. So that's a simple answer to this question. And secondly, it is really lightweight. It is not like taking one half of your memory or one third of your memory. It is really lightweight in performance, and it has a huge community support. You will never have to face the issue of asking what to do. And it is heavily documented for beginners. You will get lots and lots of resources once you start with this. So I highly recommend to get your hands dirty in the Linux. Right? Now these are the basic tools of Linux. I've categorized it according to the genres. I would say like pwd, ls, and these are all the commands which are for directory. This touch cat are for files. Help, we have man dash dash help is a flag. Don't worry about these things. I'm gonna show you all of these live, so you will get a much more brief about what all of these are. And next we have is the most important aspect of any Linux distribution as per myself, because package management in Linux is really easy. If we compare it to Windows, it is very sophisticated over there. For example, say if you want to install IDE or Visual Studio, what they have, or any other software, and that depends on any third-party software. What you need to do is you need to go to the site, you need to download it, and then first install the dependencies and then install the real software. But the beauty of Ubuntu or any Linux-based distribution is you just have to, most probably just have to type app get install and the package name. This is the package manager. I will get you familiarized with syntax. So this is the beauty, and it will automatically fetch it from the web. It will install it, and as well as if it needs any dependencies, it will automatically install those as well. And it is really secure because it uses GPG at its backend for encryption purposes. So it is really secure, like it is verified packages. So this is the beauty of any operating system. Probably because developers, install a lot of tools, and most of them are already there available there. Now coming to the syntax for specifically for Ubuntu is apt get. Apt is the package manager. Apt get install and the package name. All we need to do is to just type the package name. For example, I want to install a GCC compiler. Apt get install GCC. That's it. It will automatically fetch. It will automatically do all those things. We'll see everything in live. Okay. And next we have is apt get update. So apt works kind of with the repositories. You don't have to worry about all of these. Just imagine like you're updating the repositories or updating software links, right? And apt get upgrade will actually upgrade all of your packages installed in the system. This is clear by word. It is used to remove any package that we have. And as I said, dpkg is a package manager that is used behind the scenes. Okay, so apt uses dpkg at its backend. dpkg is a package manager that just installs the binary into our system. It do not get the software, it just installs. So apt actually gets the software and dpkg behind the scenes install it for us. If we want to install a custom packages, which then we can simply use dpkg -i for dash install and package name, and similarly -i for removal. This is the basic package management in Ubuntu. And with that, I believe it's a good time to see Linux in action. But before that, if you have any doubts so far in this, then please feel free to ask before we go ahead. Yes, do you have any doubts so far?
Yeah, feel free to message, or you can just open your mic and ask, please.
Yeah, please. I would love to have questions.
सर डिपेंडेंसीज क्या होती है?
So basically what happens is whenever you install a software, for example, you have installed in Windows, right? So for example, you install VS Code, that is a very popular IDE. And VS Code actually requires Visual Studio C++ framework to run. Okay, and there are a lot of softwares that requires another software to run, and the software which are required are called dependencies. For example, I would say if you need to install Python, then Python actually needs a C compiler at its back. So the C compiler here is the dependency for Python to run. Okay, have you got it?
I think. And the next question is, what is the difference between APT, get update, and upgrade?
Okay. Yeah, so as I told you, APT works from like it has to fetch from web, and it has some predefined links from where it fetches the packages. So basically get downloads the packages. And it updates these links because these links changes accordingly, and whenever we have new updates, these links automatically changes. To update these links, we have to update the we have to use update. And if you want to actually upgrade the packages of the softwares, we need to use apt upgrade, right? So APT just updates the repository, whereas upgrade updates the packages of the system.
I think we can now move forward with
Alright.
the.
So it's the time to see Linux in action, and let me just quickly share the screen first. Yeah. So there's the screen, and this is a simple VM. I've installed Ubuntu on a VM because this is what you are most likely to see. And one more thing, if you wanna do a live hands-on, then I'll send you a link for codeanywhere.com. You can just log in over there, and you can actually create a machine to execute the commands right now if you want to. Or you can actually install this Ubuntu on your system as well. Let me just log in. Yeah, so this is the basic screen that you will see when you first boot into Ubuntu. This is a clean installation. And we'll look at this thing. Like this is a simple desktop. We have some file managers as well here, for just like the Windows file manager, but yeah, it looks a little bit different here. You'll get to familiarize with it once you start working on it. But the most important thing to start is terminal, because that is the power of I would say Linux. To open a terminal, all you need to do is press Alt Control T, or you can simply go here, which is the application sign, and just search for terminal. And there it is. It will automatically open it up. Now this is the terminal that you will look that you can place the functions. So this has a lot to say in this terminal itself. This first thing that you're seeing is the username of the person who's actually logged in. Like Garansh, I'm logged in, right? This is the name of the computer. Basically, you can name the computer to what computer you are logging in. This tilde means home directory. So Linux has a lot of directories, and a home directory is basically a folder which is default for a user. So if Garansh logs in, he has a folder, something like that. Let me just /home/Garansh. So this path is actually the home path, and this is represented by the tilde. So you can, instead of typing all these, you can simply use this. And this simply means that you are a normal user. So Linux has two major types of user things. First is a normal user, which is I am right now, and the second is a super user. Super user is a person who has all of the apps of the computer system. So you can understand it as admin in the Windows. You must have heard of admin in Windows, so it is similar to that. Right. So let's start with the commands first. Let's start with the directory commands. The simplest one is we are in which directory. Just write pwd. It will tell we are in which directory. And we can do ls to list all of the folders that we have. Directory is a synonym for folder. So this will list all of the files and folders in this directory, in our home directory. We have a desktop, we have documents, downloads, and things like that. Next we can do is we can actually change the directory with the command cd. Actually, if you look at these commands, these are very self-explanatory. ls is the shorthand for list. Cd is the shorthand for change directory. So say for example, I want to go to something called bar. And there I want to do ls. Here we have some file. This is a file. Directories, you can see directories represented via blue, and files are just white color, right? And we can actually create some directories with the help of mkdir commands. Mkdir, let's say test. And, okay, yeah, there's an error because we have a file name with the same name, so we can create a test one. Let's create some more directories. mkdir. Yes. If you want, you can try to execute these commands right now. That will actually help you learn what this means. All we are doing here is we are creating directories. It is very similar to something like this. Like create new folder and then type something. This command is actually doing the same thing. If you want to check, you can just go to the home bar and see there are two folders created, right? So mkdir is used to create the directories or what we call as folders. Now, what if you want to remove a directory? Removing a folder is simply rm dir. MK is making and RM is removing. Alright, it is very self-explanatory to remember these commands, and that's why Linux is really powerful. Because don't fear from the command line. I've seen many people who actually start using Linux, but they are not familiar with the command line or terminal, whatever you can say. But the major power of Linux is in the terminal. Okay, I'll show you what you can do with the terminal itself. So this all are the basic commands, and you can just say, for example, I want to clear the street, to just type clear, clear. This is synonym to cls in Windows command prompt if you have worked on that. So you can just type clear, and that will clear all the prompt. Now we can go start working with some files. Like we've created directories, but it's time for some file. To create a file in Linux, a simple empty file, you can use touch command. Touch o.txt. So you can ls, and you can see we have created a file with this format, right? Say for example, touch x.zip. It can create file with any format you want to, right? So, but this will be just an empty file and it won't have anything. Now, what if you want to copy some files or move some files? Like obviously now, we must know how to copy and move the files, right? We can simply use the cp command. The CP stands for copy commands, and I must have shared a link with you all guys to actually get the list of complete commands with their descriptions. Even if you don't get, I'll send you after the workshop. So don't worry about that. For now, just understand what is happening. So if I CP, for example, say foo.txt into home directory. Now, I told you can use this for the home directory. This means home directory. This commenting means the home directory, or yeah, it is home directory. Let's just copy this. Also, to change directory, we use cd, and then after that, the name of the directory. For example, this test home. But what if we want to directly go to a home directory? We can simply type cd without anything forward. This is a shortcut for switching to the home directory. And as you can see, we have copied foo in the home directory. It must be there. And say it is there, right? So this is used for copying. We can copy files. We can even copy folders. So if we copy this test one over here in the test directory, so it is there in copy slash. This was the path, right? You can just simply copy, or you can use tab completions. It was there. Tab completion is really helpful. And then test to this. Dot means in the current directory. This dot means in the current directory, wherever you are. If I do ls, you can see we have a test one folder. Oh, okay. If there was some issue. It's conflicting somewhere. Anyway, you can actually use copy to copy files as well as folders. Okay. And after that, we have something called mv command, which is used to move the files. Quickly go to
Forte, forte, forte pedaço.
Create some files.
Forte, 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 Forte para das
Next week. And what if you want to move this file
forte,
into
forte.
a previous folder? We can simply do that by md and then the name of the file to the location we desire. Like this is the present location, and then we can pass on the desired location. So it can be, say for example, you want to transfer it to the download folder. So now it is removed from here. Anything is not there. But if you want ls and then download, it has been moved. Right. So CP is used for copying and MB is used for moving the folders. After that, we have a very useful command, but for that, you need to first type something in file. For example, let's say CP execute text.txt. And then when we want to edit in, we have some text editors. The first thing is a graphical editor which is installed in Ubuntu is called gedit or GNOME editor. So this is the text editor. It is called gedit. Okay? This you can do is gedit and some text. So open the text editor with the file and you can just type anything whatever your and just save it and that's good to go. So this is a graphical user interface based editor. But what if you want to do live in terminal here? We have various text editors, but for now, for the sake of simplicity, we use Nano. Nano is the very minimal text editor. It will just allow you to type something. So Nano some text. And that is simple. For example, I want to type something. Just type it out. But how do you save this? See, we have a lot of things right now. Control plus O. Control O will actually save it over here, and Control X will exit. Now, imagine that you have some text written in this file, or say you have a Python script or anything that you are developing, and you just want to have a quick look over the thing. One thing is you can actually open the folder and see where it is done. I believe it's one way to do this.
I don't love you.
Open this, but this is very tedious. When you have terminal, why we should use using this, right? All we need to do is cat and then everything that we type over here is printed right into the terminal. But what it does is, if we have a very long script, it will actually print and then just exit. So we need to do is a lot of scrolling, for example, right? And we need to do a lot of scrolling. So a very neat way to do this is using less command. Less is something similar to this. What it will do, it will open it in the live view. So if you have a long script, you can simply go up and down, and then when we are done with the viewing purposes, you can simply press Q button to quit. Q is used to quit the next command. So these are some handy commands, especially for developers. So you most probably need this because this will help you grow in your terminal skills. Right? These are some basic files and directory commands, I would say. And one thing is, you have seen ls command, but what if I want to get in this can just go to the root directory? ls. But what I'm going to show you is we don't only have these much, we have a lot more directories. So if you want to see any hidden directory, you can just put ls-a. You can see we have now these much hidden folders. Anything, if you want to hide anything in Linux, you just have to put a dot before the name. You can see. If you want to hide a folder, you can put a dot. If you want to hide a file, you can put a dot before its name. That's so simple to hide a file inside Linux. And if you want to see all of them in a really nicer way, in a long format, like what is the size and all those things, you can do LSL. Now, this is same ls command, and we have a lot of more information. I'll jot down to make it really rememberable. So if you want to see, like this is the size of the files or folders that we have, but it is not human readable. All you need, if you want to see it in human readable format, just put an H flag and A. See, this is now in kilobytes. It is much more human readable, right? But the question arises is, okay, I'm using Linux for so much time, so I might have remembered these things. But how would you remember? Because as a beginner, I was also wondering like how people remember so much of commands. So the point is, first thing when you start to working on this thing, you might remember the frequent commands, but you cannot remember everything in the Linux, because the beauty of Linux is you can actually learn new thing daily, even after you are working for say 5 years or you're expert in it, still you have to learn a lot. So it is a daily learning
Someone
process.
says it's just a
But
toy.
the point is, how can we remember this? The very you know good thing is that we don't need to remember
When
this. We just
someone
need to
says
use this command. Now these are the helping commands that I would say. This is short for manual, man, and after that put the command that you want to know more about, man ls. This will open all of the flag categories. Like this will dash here. You have seen this before, right? You have a dash L list, use a long list format, and this is dash H human readable format, right? So this is a manual file, or in short, we call it man pages, and we can use man to actually get to know more about almost every pre-installed packages as well as the packages that we install. So if you want to know more about man itself, you can just type man of man. It will give you the manual of all those things. Or for example, man of CP. It will give you the manual of that as well. Man is a very helpful and handy command. And another one is dash help flag. So for example, we don't want to see complete manual, but just for the sake of reference, we want to see the help available. So we can just pass this help command, double dash help. Now this is a very generic flag. I would say if not every software supports this, but almost 90 to 95% of the software support this thing, dash dash help. When you do so, it will print out all of those help things right on the terminal side. ls dash dash help, or maybe cp dash dash help. I believe I forgot to just tell you how to remove a file or complete field directory. Yeah, let me just. I'm really sorry I forgot that. For example, say I want to remove this file. I've told you to how can you remove the directory with rmdir, right? But RMDIR is just used to remove any empty directory, basically a folder which has nothing in it. For example, I want to delete document. I want to delete bar. I know I have some files in bars. When I try to delete bar, see, it will fail. Fail to remove bar, directory not empty. Now, the question is how can you remove directory as well as how can you remove files? This can only delete the empty directories but not the file. So we have a neat command for that, which is rm. Yeah, just this page. RM is used to remove anything. Remove a text file. Okay, it will remove it for you. Remove another thing. Say for example this text. It will remove anything. All the things that you give it. But if you want to remove this folder, remove any folder, for example, RM bar. Still, it will throw you with an error like this cannot be removed because it is a directory. Now, RM is purposely made to delete files. Okay, it is not made for removing directories. So how will you how will you use RM to remove a directory? The first thing is obviously you can use man page. Okay, let's see what's there in the manual. Is there anything with that? Do you have anything? So yeah, we can use dash R flag, right? Remove directories and their contents recursively. So hopefully we can do this time. We can ram dash R. The R is used for recursively deleting the directory as well. If I do ram dash, for example, bar, it will delete the files and you won't get any messages. But what if you want to see what it deleted? You can use dash V. V is used for verbose. Basically, it will delete and print it on your console as well. rm dash rb. So you can say remove this file, this file. Finally, it is removed. It has removed the directory. Right? Now, one thing to mention is this command is really dangerous. Please try to use only when you are confident that you want to delete. For example, let's say I want to delete, let's say instead of this, we just pass the, for example, download folder. And we have a lot more important files over there. If you do so, it will remove the folder, and the worst part is we cannot recover it. At least with a simple it is not like recycle bin in the windows. If you once deleted this command, it is completely deleted and destroyed. So you cannot actually fetch it back. So please be cautious before using this command. If you're not comfortable with this, use GUI. That's better instead of losing some important files. So yeah, please be cautious with this command. And even if you run this command at somewhere, it's an important location. For example, RVF. at this. This is the root directory. I'll tell you what is root directory. If you run this, what will happen is it will completely delete all your files of the Linux operating system as well, if you have those permissions, like sudo permissions. So please be cautious with this thing. Okay. This F is used for forcefully deleting any file if there's an issue with
Discord incoming call sound
that. Yeah, so that was a lot. Yeah, if you want to see how many devices are attached to your system, you can just do ls usb. It will list all of the devices attached to your system. And if you want to see how many drives are mounted, like in Windows we have D drive, C drive mounted over there. If you want to see all of those, you can just do ls. This will list all of the drives that are mounted. Don't worry, because this is not really necessary to get started with it. Just for the sake of simplicity, you can, yeah, this is a command to get all of the mounts that we have. Also, if you want to use, if you want to see all of the system resources, you can just do so with this top command. Okay. What top will do is it will tell you the usage of CPU and the usage of memory. See, this operating system currently uses 761.2 MB. This is in megabytes. You can change that with Shift E in gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, and so on and so forth, and back to megabyte. Okay, you can just scroll it. Now there are a lot of things. Just if you must be interested in memory and CPU stuff, and might be in the processor. These are all the processes that are running. But don't worry about these things. This is just for the sake of information. And yeah, that's pretty much all about getting help in Linux. And before we get ahead, if you have any doubts so far, please feel free to ask me. Any doubts, Lisa?
This is how she responds.
Hello?
This is how she.
Can you use GitHub tools and tools in Linux? How can we integrate GitHub? Yeah, Shali, I'll show you how you can use Git commands in Linux as well. But we have to wait for that till last, because currently, if you have any doubt in this basic commands, you can ask. Yes, do you have any doubts?
I guess you can carry on.
Alright. Right, guys, please try to be interactive, because that's how you can learn, right? Before, like, I'll speak and you will just listen and forget after. So that won't be beneficial, but after it's your wish. So it's better if you try to be more interactive. Anyway, so let's move to the utilities, which are the base power of Linux. Okay, these are the commands that I told you are really basic for file manipulation and directory manipulation. But now let's come to the tools that it provides to us. So the very first tool is ping. I would say it's a really good tool. For example, you want to ping the site, or basically check if the server or your internet connection is working. So you just hit ping. It will actually ping your system. Right? This is the IP address, and this will say like give you a brief introduction of how many packets are sent. But this is just for checking the internet if you want. IS config. So, actually, let me quickly switch to my home system, because this virtual machine is really, I would say, and so yeah, this is the Linux terminal, very similar to what you have seen over there, but it's a little bit configured for my usage. So please don't worry about that. All of the things that I will do here will work over there as well, so don't worry about this. So if you want to say test, what will and yeah, if config. What it will do is it will list all of the network connections we have in our system. You might have just these things. This is for Wi-Fi, WLAN, and this is your IP address. If you want to check anytime, like IP addresses are required for some server and stuff you are developing over there. So this is a good helpful command. Next is how to share something which is frequently used by developers. So, for example, I'm working on any Python project because I develop in Python. So, this pip is a command line utility to install Python packages, and I want to get all of the requirements. The simplest command is pip freeze, right? I must, yeah. So pip freeze, it will do is it will list all of the packages that are installed in the current directory, but it is printing it onto the console. But what if you want to have it on a file? You can simply do this with the help of this amazing thing, single angular bracket, and after that the name of the file. Let me first switch to the directory of. So we can just do pip freeze and then one singular angular bracket and then the name of file. So for example, rec.txt. This will actually, instead of printing out to the console, it will store everything in there. So remember, you have a command to check it up, cat rec.txt. It will print. But as I said, like, if we have something long, we need to store. The better version to do this is less and then rec.txt. So here we just need to press up and down arrow keys to check the file if we have. And then once we are once we are done with viewing the file, we can simply press Q to quit it. So this is very important. So for example, if you want to save any output of any command into a text file, you can simply use this thing, like after that command. For example, I'll show you. But what happens is, for example, if you use single angular bracket, it will override the file. Like, if you do so, again, and then you can use less to view this. See, it just overwritten everything that was written previously. It really didn't append. But what if we want to say, if we don't want to overwrite anything, we just want to add at the end of the file. You can simply do that with adding one more angular bracket. This will actually append the file rather than overwriting it. So now you might see that we have a lot of other packages installed. See, after this, it's been repeating. R complete, and if you go to the first of the file, it's repeating, right? So we just appended it at the end. Double angular for appendance and singular for just overwriting it. Now this is really helpful when you want to store any output of the command line to a file. This was a small utility, and one more feature of pip is piping in Linux. For example, pip same command will run the same command. Yeah, it will list all of the files that we have. But specifically, if I want to say, for example, search for PyQt, right, this thing over there, then what I need to do is I need to read all of these things, and as soon as these files grow, it's really hard to read all of these things. The better way is use the piping feature. This symbol character will be there in your keyboards in the backslash. Like you can use shift and backslash to print this piping character. And what it will do is, instead of directly printing, it will pass on the output of the first command to the second command. And for example, the next tool to indulge in this is grep. Okay? So this thing will actually pass on the output of this command into another command. And here we are using grep. This is again a great utility. What it will do is it will search for a string to anything, like to in a file or in a directory output. So for example, you want to search for something like YouTube here. Okay, for example, that's true. See, instead of printing all of those things, it will just print the required thing that we are searching for. But again, the thing is like, yeah, that's good, but developers really works in shortcut way. Why to, if you want to have, if you want to search a lot more things, then we need to, for example, this, and this time I want UFW. I need to run this command again and again. But what if we have some utility that can handle this automatically for us? Yeah, so we have for that FZF. You can install all of these. I've mentioned all of these commands in the shows available. FZF is fuzzy finding. It is basically searches all your outputs. So there it is. If you want to search for, say, YouTube, there it is. You can remove that. I want to search for PyKitty. See, it's there. Right. So this is called fuzzy finder, and as soon as you're done with it, you can just use Control C to exit this. Right? And FCF is a great utility to search. Searching is really easy in Linux because we do often search files quite a lot while developing. All right. So there's been a lot of tools. I know it could be really a lot of new tools, but try to incorporate as much as you can. And after when you start doing it, practicing it, you will actually learn all of these things. So this was FCF and some system admin tools. I would say this is not much important, but I think it should be good to know about these things. So who am I? Permit is the username of the logged in person. Remember, let me just file up that sheet. Remember this thing. As I said, this is the name of username. So this is the same. If you type who am I, it will give you the name of the person who was actually logged in. All right. So the next thing we want to have with us is maybe date command. If you want to see date, like maybe if you're running on some server which has no UI, you want to see the dates, then date command is there. Then amazing tool. Then we have one more amazing tool which is AWK. Before starting, I would prefer to have manual reading. AWK is a language. Basically, it is not a simple tool, but it's rather a language. You can learn more about it on blog post if you want to study. But this is very effective. Like, let me just quickly show you one example. Remember, we have printed this thing, requirement.txt a while ago. So you want to do cat and it will show you all of these things. But what if we just want to print the names and we don't want to have these versions numbers that we have? Basically, if you're developing in Node, if you have some package list over there, or in Python we don't want this thing. We just want the name of the packages. Now, doing this will be really inefficient, especially in if you're doing it manually. Now, how can you do it programmatically? One thing is you can do is you can use the upper cat and then pipe it through a utility as I told you, AWK. And it has some syntax. You can learn the syntax really easily with the man or with some online articles. And then this, what you want, this is a simple syntax and print $1. Now, what it should do, what this line should do is it should print only the first column of the file, whatever we are passing in. If you do so, we are supposed that it should just print this thing, but it's not. So by default, this AWK uses space as its delimiter. I hope you have heard of delimiters. These are characters which separates two different stuffs. Like in the CSV file, we have comma. Here we can see delimiter is double equal to. Right? This is double equal to. This is just a phone rendering, which seems like a long single equal to, but no, it's a double equal to. So what if we want to change the default behavior of AWK, and rather than working with space, we just want to have it with double equal. Now this magic is we don't have any double equal to, we don't have any versions, we just have the name of the packages, right? And that's the beauty of the Linux. You can customize it to as many things as you want to do. Like you can, as soon as you learn, as soon as your demands grow, you will eventually know how to utilize it to fulfill our needs. So this was a great utility, AWK and grep. I prefer, this is a little hard, but you should use them because you have seen the magic. Right? How much time would it take to do this if you do it manually or with some other thing? So yeah, that's all. That's a lot about these things and some more specific tools. Let me just quickly open up this Firefox. Right. So say, for example, you are working on a cloud shell and you don't have access to any GUI, but you want to install Anaconda. By default, Anaconda is not installed as a package manager, as I told you earlier. So you need to download it. Or say, for example, you want to download any other file into your server. How will you do that? Right? Just go to the download page. Just copy the link, whatever you want to download. Right? Switch the terminal. Now we have basically two utilities. The very first, which is more specific for downloads, is wget. And after that, if you print this thing, wget, and the link that you want to download, this will eventually download. You can see HTTP and it's actually downloading the files at this. This is the speed of download and how much time is remaining to download, and so forth. right? We will eventually download the script for us. We're not going to download completely because it's a big file, let's say 500 MB, something like that. And we have another command which is curl. Curl will actually do the same thing, but see, what it's actually doing is instead of saving it as a file, it is actually printing out the outputs. So it is basically intended to do so because, for example, I want to just, this is a simple bash script that I've written. If I want to fetch this web page, or maybe say, for example, this web page itself. I just need the HTML code. I can just use curl and then the link. What it will do is it will download the whole HTML page. If you go to browser and press the control U, this same source code has been fetched over here with the Perl command. These commands become really helpful while testing. If you're, especially if you're a web developer, Perl is used a lot, and wget is used almost everywhere to download the files. Even you can use curl to download the files with a lot of options that we have. Like if you want to read more, we can use curl. Right? So there are a lot of things that you can do, and yeah, please do give it a try. I just wanna have this thing handy because you must know about these tools. These are really helpful, fun utilities. Um, One more thing, you have seen the stop command, but this is not really very intuitive, right? How can we see what is using? How about a much better utility? It is called htop. Htop is very similar to top, but in a very it shows things in a very better way. So this is htop. This is all. These are all your processors cores. So I have 12 cores. So this is a 12 core machine. So we have 12 cores, and each the processing taken by each core is shown here. This is the memory, how much memory is being used, and this is the swap. You don't have to worry about swap. Just leave it for now. Yeah, this is my uptime, and these are all of the processors that are running. It is a much better way to view the same thing which is there in the document. Htop is a great utility. And for example, if you want to have some cool looking things that you want to show your friends, you can use NeoFetch to list all of these, ASCII arts and a lot about your terminal and things like that. With that, I think these are a lot of utilities that I've told you. One more thing about sudo. I've told you like in Linux we have two major types of users. One is the person who is like you and me, who's the normal user, and the one is super user. What if you want to access super user? Just sudo and su. It will ask for your password, so enter your password. And this is your sudo. This is very high privilege thing. You can do almost anything you want to. There will be no restrictions. You can see when we have normal user, we have dollar sign, but when we have super user, we have this hashtag sign, right? Yeah. I hope that's visible to you. Want to exit, simply put the exit. See, once you're starting, it won't matter for you to understand the user policy and user groups in Linux. But remember, when you want to, whenever you get a permission error like permission denied or anything like that, you can use sudo as well to get access to all of the permissions. Um, some fun utilities also. I have some fun utilities for you. For example, if I say ls, this is not looking good. Ls dash l h. This is not looking really good. How about making it like a rainbow? Just pass it to another utility. You can install it simply by sudo apt-get llcat. And how about this? It's a little colorful. Try again with some new color schemes. It's really good to showcase if you want to say something, or maybe say the NeoFetch I've told you. Kausei is another utility. I think it is installed. Oh, sorry, Kausei is not installed, but you can try it. It's a good utility. Just to make it, you make your terminal much more fancy. These are the, I would say, basic utilities, and then we can finally move on to the package version. So far, if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask us. We have a lot to cover. Any doubts? Yes. Hello? Is there anyone?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So this is it. And now let's move to installing the command, installing the utilities. So all you need to do is sudo apt and then install. And then if you want to say install code blocks ID, I hope you have heard of this code blocks. All you do is just enter the name and it will automatically fetch all the dependencies and things like that. These are the dependencies over there, and you can just simply put a Y to download it, or you can deny over there as well. It's just after the confirmation. It will fetch the complete packages from the repositories, and thereafter it will download it for you. This is a simple installation process. And if we go and check it over there, so we have code blocks. We do have code blocks over here. Also, that's look ugly because of some theming issues. But yeah, this is code blocks installed, or you can install any software as well. If you want to remove that, simply sudo app remove code blocks. Remove one. Right. Then we have sudo apt update. So update the repositories. So this is the difference. It will just update the repositories that we have, the links that we have. And if you do a sudo apt upgrade, it will see we have these two things to update, and it will update these things. But I'm not going to update this right now. We'll update it later. This is the basic difference between update and upgrade as well. And you can use even apt search to search for any package. For example, apt SE search for Python, for example. It will list all the packages that have Python in them. Anywhere mentioned, it will list. You can easily search with the tools that I've told you earlier. So this is how APT works. And then we might want to switch to slides. So yeah. Next thing that we want to cover is the file permissions. Although this is a little for more advanced stuff, but I believe you should know only this command, because if you want to run anything in Linux, you must make it executable. How will you do that? You can just simply go to the file here and we create any executable file, for example, touch .sh. sh is it should execute something. Let me just quickly. You don't have to worry about this command. This is used to just print something into the file. So for now, it's echo something. And we'll store it into food. So this, if you do ls-l, this is not an executable because executable is shown in green, or basically it has some permissions over here. These are the permissions: read, write, execute. Now this is a little bit complex, but for example, if you just want to make something executable, just we use this command sudo chmod plus x and then two. If we do so, see we have this as a executable permissions. Let me see the difference over here. This is the difference, and we can easily do so. And if you want to run this, just this dot slash and you print the output. So that's how you make anything executable, and that is necessary for you because when you start Linux, you must know how to make anything executable. This is a little bit about file permissions in Linux. And then what we have with us is dev tools for productivity. Uh, as I've shown you, bash script, like this itself is a bash script. This foo.sh that I've created, that foo.sh. And this is a bash script because it is a .sh file and it has some bash commands in it. You can learn bash script is something which is a little bit advanced, so you can skip it for now. But if you really want to automate a lot of things in Linux, you can use bash scripts as well. We have aliases and environment variables. Now, these are two things which are our lifesaver tools because aliases are something creating a shortcut for the repetitive commands or any commands that you want for. And environment variables are really neat for every developers because it is a good practice to export your secrets and keys like that into the environment. And we create environment variable for the same. Let's see how we do so. For example, I have shown you sudo app um, get update. Now, this is a command that you might run quite frequently to update your repositories, but you don't want to type all of these things. What you can do is simply use alias and any shortcut that you want to. For example, I just want up equals in double quotes, put the whole complete command. Control Shift C and Control Shift V is used for copying and pasting inside the terminal. It's not Control V, it's Control Shift C. And when you do so, we have created an alias up. So if you run up, it will actually run this command behind the scenes. And if you really want to see what up is, we can use where, which up. You see, it is alias to sudo app directory, which is also a great utility to search for any packages, for example, which Python. This is the location of the executable. You can search for any executable with which command, so which shell, and things like that. These are some neat things to work on. Next, we have this history. History is another great command to search for. Just put history, and it will list all of your last commands that you have run so far. You can just scroll and whichever your command, you can just copy this and see, yeah, this is the command that I have run. Because sometimes what happens is you want to run the previous command, but you forget. And also there's a neat way if you just want to search for it, you can just press Control and R and you can search for anything. Like for example, I want to search for ls. This is the last command that I've run. It will search for apt. You can press Control R as many times as much, and it will search for everything from the history database. So these were some developers tools, I would say, for your easy productivity life. Be more productive with these commands. After this, we have the Swiss knife of devs, which is Vim. Vim is a whole lot universe in itself, and it is a modal text editor. It is a terminal-based text editor. It really doesn't have a GUI. Nowadays, it has been created, but purposely it is not made for GUIs. It is just made for CLIs, command line interfaces, and it has a modal architecture. So basically, we have various modes in Vim. We have command mode, we have insert mode, we have visual mode, and we have normal modes. Now, when you want to say, for example, sudo Vim, this is what you get when you first open Vim, and most people don't know how to exit this thing, because you can't use Control C or anything like that. If you want to exit, you simply use Control Q to exit, right? Now, this is a normal mode. If we want to go in command mode, we just need to press escape. Escape is the major key which shifts between modes. In a command mode, you can run any command. For example, set number is a command. If you want to learn more about this thing, we have some great resources attached in the resources. Just go there and start learning them. Vim is a great tool, especially if you are a developer, because many developers have to work in cloud environment, and there we just have Nano or Windows CLI terminals. We don't have any GUI terminals, right? So you have to text editor. So you need to get familiar with these things. And this is really powerful because once you learn this, it becomes really easy for developers to be more productive with it. So for example, set number, you can do tab and it will list all the numbers. Now, if you want to have set relative number, well, these are some things that you can test with it. Relative number, and this is it. Now, what if you want to text? If you want to type some text, I'm really typing a lot of things, but it really doesn't get typed so fastly. Let me go to we need to type I to get into an insert mode. Like if we are in, you can see here we are in the command mode. Here we are in command mode. If we want to get into an insert mode, we can just use I, and then
हो
it
गया
allows us to type in.
प्रमोशन 15 लोग बचे थे मीटिंग में
And if you want to get back into the command mode, we can use escape.
अपने खुद के ग्रुप में शुरू हो गया भाई
Also,
57 लोग
if you want to do copy and pasting things like that, you can do so. Let me just go back to the insert mode and type few more things. For example, to select any text, we can go to visual mode. There are three basic major modes: command mode, insert mode, and visual mode. Escape and then press V to get into visual mode. Visual mode. This is what you will see in the bottom when you get in which mode you are. And then you can use the Vim keys, which are H, J, K, L, to go ahead, like move around. Like H will go left, and L will go right. J will go till top. J will bottom and K will be top. So H, J, K, L, or either you can use the up down keys on your keyboard. That's not a matter. And you can use Y to yank. Yank is simply meaning copy. And if you want to paste, just go to the place where you want to paste and just hit T. That will paste. The very beautiful thing about Vim is, for example, you can just set numbers for easier reference. For example, if I want to delete this line, say 3, you can just go to the line and you can use 2DT. There, 2DT will delete any line. But say, for example, you want to delete 5 lines at a time. I'm at line 1 and I want to delete till 5 lines. We can just put number of times we want to repeat this command. So, for example, 5. You can see at the bottom page what is typing. 5, B, and if I do press D again, it will delete 5 lines at the end. You can use this thing completely anywhere in Vim, and Vim is a lot kind of its whole universe. It has its own universe, so you can easily learn these things. But I would say to use some blocks to actually learn these things, because this is a lot time-taking stuff. To save anything, you can use write to write the write and then path name. So, for example, a.s.txt. It will write those things and it will fix it. This is a little bit about Vim. I would really highly recommend, if you're into Linux or into development, please do use Vim. And then we have some Git commands. So there's a guy who was asking for Git and things like that. So Git and VCS is a tool for version controlling version control systems. It was developed by, again, Linus Torvalds is the one who actually created Git apart from Linux. Some basic Git commands are git init, git add, git commit, and things like that. So for example, I want to move to the terminal. I want to just copy this repository here. I want to copy this repository from the web. All I need to do is to first install git with sudo apt install git. This will install it. I've already installed it, but if you run, you can install git in your computer. And then on it is git clone. Now clone is used to copy any remote repository into our system.
आज एक ऐसी वेबसाइट लेकर आया हूं जो ग्राफिक डिजाइनर्स, यूआई यूएक्स डिजाइनर्स, वेब डेवलपर्स
See, this is not the thing that you might get because I have configured it in a separate way, so I'm getting this, but you might not get this. Now the basic commands over here are git commit, git add, git pull, and git push. For the sake, let's run git status. What it will do is it will show you the status. It is currently up to date. Now if you want to create some file, so touch test file. I create this, and then if I do git status, it will tell us that it is an untracked file. Now this is a paradigm of Git. It tracks what we have changed so far, and it will eventually wait until we add and commit. So if you want to stage this thing, or if you want to say, yeah, this is our work done, this is the work that was completed, you can use git add and the name of the file. Also, you can, instead of, if you want to completely add everything from a folder, you can just use a dot to copy everything from that folder. But I have this thing which is just use git status, and this will say that the branch is up to date. Now it was untracked over there, but now it is staged. Also, we can do a commit. Commit is something like, yes, I've completed work. It will like we can have versions. So, for example, I've completed the version one and I've gone to commit it. So, git commit dash n, we used to send the commit message like I've added, for example, this is just a message for reference of ourselves. Git add what test file, right? Quick commit. And now, if we do so, git status, your branch is ahead. Now, what we want to do is we want to push that to somewhere else. Let me just quickly push that. I need to get the password over there. If you want to push it to the web server or the remote GitHub, you can just use git push, and then we will get a username. The one who said who asked for authentication. This is how you authenticate. You just put your username and your password over here. Hit enter. It will send. It will push your changes to the remote repository. That's how you do the things. That's how you manage the Git and things like that. You can actually look a lot because these topics are really time consuming. So if you want to learn these things, you can actually learn more about all of these things. So this was all about Linux starting and Vim and Git. Your best help, your besties for help will be Stack Overflow. I would highly recommend if you're stuck anywhere, you can use Stack Overflow, ask Ubuntu forums, ask Wiki, documentation, GitHub, anywhere. Just Google it. It is mostly likely to have we have already a resolution for a problem that we might come across because it's been so mature. Linux is so mature that it has almost everything over there already. So you don't have to worry a lot about these things. And yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you for being such a great listeners, and I'm open for any questions about that you might have. Yeah, do you have any other doubts? Any people want to ask some doubts? Yeah.
एक एक डाउट था छोटा सा कि अगर इन केस हम कोई फाइल डाउनलोड कर लेते हैं और वो वायरस वाली होती है तो हम उसको कैसे हटा सकते हैं, मतलब क्या हम इसमें एंटीवायरस डाल सकते हैं या क्या सिनेरियो रहता है?
See, so Linux really don't need antivirus. होते हैं इसके लिए भी हमारे पास we have some antivirus over there, but barely you need. The point is, जब हम नेट से कोई भी फाइल डाउनलोड करते हैं, it is virus is nothing more than an executable. It is just another executable file. And the first thing is, it is recommended to use only the hashed, like the signed patches from official repositories. But if you have some, doubts that yeah, this can be virus, you can simply remove it using rm command. But as I said you, like I've told you about file permissions, Linux uses file permissions to make it more secure. So until unless you use that chmod plus x command, no file can execute. It won't execute unless you give them permission to execute. So if you have any doubt, like yeah, this can be a virus affected file, you can easily remove that file.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Do you have any doubt? Really open to any doubts and questions. Yeah. So we don't have any doubts. Come on, guys. You can ask anything. I hope this is a new topic for you. So I'm here to answer any questions. Feel free to connect with me anytime. I'll be ready for help. So please, if you have any doubts, do ask me.
There is one doubt in comment section.
Okay. Can we recover the download folders from trash even after using RM and RT? So no, we cannot recover it. As I told you, it is a really dangerous command because when we delete using rm-r command, it really doesn't go to trash. It directly completely deletes from a hard drive. So we cannot recover. Yeah, you might use some recover tools, but that is not a simple trash recovery. That is something else. That is hardware recovery, hard disk recovery. Mostly cannot. I hope that's clear. Anyone else? If yeah, all right. If everyone is done, so we can end the session.
Yes, we can wind up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being such a great audience. I will send you all of the resources in the group once again, right? So feel free to use them.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Goransh,
Thank you. Thank
for the
you.
interactive session. You can leave, guys. Thank you.